I will have been president for 8 years, and I think it's been, for me, a wonderful experience. I've loved every minute of the job. It's so engaging, but I thought about what the next few years hold for me, and I want to make sure that I give myself an opportunity to really make a contribution in my principal areas of academic and professional interest, which are international law and international relations. So in a sense, it's a very personal decision to try and focus my energies there after June of 2014. I have no idea what the future holds, and that was actually part of how I wanted to do this. I didn't want anyone to feel that I was being sort of dragged off to something, certainly nor that I was feeling any sense of push. I really still like this job. I've got a lot of energy for it. I'll be 100% committed to it for the next 15 months, and whatever happens after that, I'll be as interested as anyone else. I'm not sure. It'll be something, as I say, to do with international law, international relations. I like the opportunity to write. I published a book in 2010 with a colleague at U of T, and I also like getting back into the classroom. So I think there's a significant chance that it will be in post-secondary, maybe right here at Ubyssey. I'm just not sure.
So far?
It's a pretty hard question to ask me. What I would say is I think that one of the things that I've enjoyed most about the job is that I've really been able to bring together a group of people that I work with on a daily basis on the executive, and working with the provost, creating a group of deans that I really think are very, very talented people. And so, I think one of the marks of a leader is who he or she has around them. And I really like the people I work with, and I think that they deliver a great, great value for the university. So on that score, I'll say I've done okay. It's a great question. Well, I obviously support the decision. I was very much a part of the discussions, and I have to admit it was a bit awkward for me because I was chairing the AUCC at the same time, and other members of AUCC wanted to reach an accommodation with access copyright. So I was partially involved in those discussions while at the same time deciding with my colleagues here with great advice from our legal counsel and from the libraries who've been working hard that it was the right thing to do for us to move out of access copyright. People had to do a lot of hard work. There was a bit of a risk at the beginning, but as it turns out, with the decisions of the Supreme Court, and I think that we really made the right decision. It's still playing itself out. I think we've delivered what we need to deliver. We've really created a very good copyright office. I think people get good advice, professors, about how to manage copyright questions. Whether or not there's another shoe to drop, well, there may be, but we'll have to wait and see. It's hugely important from my perspective, and I want to emphasize that I'm not finished yet, and I want to keep working very hard at that over the course of the next 15 months. I think that it's really important for a university to have a focus for its work. Not that everyone has to be aligned. That's never going to happen in a place as complex and large as a university. But what Place and Promise has allowed us to do is make some fairly rational decisions about where we would spend money and where we would spend energy. And so, for example, really working at the beginning on Aboriginal engagement, some really concrete things have happened, and we will continue to make them happen. Many more Aboriginal professors than there were at the beginning, higher graduation rate amongst Aboriginal students, I think stronger relationships with communities across BC and Canada. Then if you look at the question of student success and learning opportunities, not perfect by any means, but I do think that we've made some real progress. If you think about the creation, for example, of the enrollment service professionals, people who are now going to really focus their energies on individual students right from the moment they apply to when they graduate, that's a huge change. The whole notion of broad-based admissions is, I think, fundamentally important in shaping a class. The Carl Wyman Science Education Initiative, which Ubyssey has funded itself, a huge investment and really important. Now investments made in flexible or blended learning and trying to take a leadership role in what we know about new learning technologies and how to use them to actually make the learning experience better for students. I could go on, but I think actually if you look at each of the commitments, there are concrete steps that have been taken. And in fact, this year in our annual report, we're going to have for the first time really detailed metrics on how the plan has been implemented. Well, I'm not going to presuppose what any person would do in this job. I have no idea, and I would only say that one of the great strengths of UBC right now is that it is a globally influential university, and one of the reasons for that is it's made fundamental commitments around international engagement. I suspect that over the next few years we will see the number of international students grow here. I see that as fundamentally important for the educational experience of every student, because we live in a world where more and more cultural values are at play in work environments, and where if we don't have some kind of intercultural fluency, I don't think we're doing our students a service. So I see this as really something that's going to grow over time. Well, I actually think I inherited a very strong institution, and I feel very lucky about that. And I think when I finish in 15 months, there will still be a very strong institution, and I think strengthened in some ways. I think that if you think about international universities around the world, there's really only a handful that have actually done what UBC has done, which is really to transform itself from a very strong provincial university into a globally influential university. That's amazing, and it takes hundreds of people, thousands of people to make that happen. Individual decisions made all the time, so no president does that. It's something that's really the result of the work of a whole community, and I think that over the last 7 years we've seen that momentum certainly be maintained, and I think in some areas increased. Well, clearly I'm going to have to focus a lot on Start an Evolution, the UBC campaign. It's something that as president I have to keep very focused on. We just announced at the Board of Governors that we've beaten our fundraising and alumni engagement targets again this year. We've done it every year of the campaign. So we've now raised $1.1 billion, and we've got 47,000 tracked, engaged alumni participating in the life of the university. So I'll keep focused there. I also think that the entire question of what we're often calling flexible learning, how does the classroom experience relate to the whole educational experience of a student? This is not just about MOOCs and online learning. It's much more complicated than that. It's how do we deliver effectively material and allow for real engagement, real discussion. For students who are in the humanities, I actually think there may be less obvious change. But for a lot of students across the university who are perhaps more used to classes where the learning is more passive and where you have large lectures, etc., I think we've got to see some really major change. And I think that's going to be an area that I focus on over the course of the next 15 months as well. And there will be a few others. I've got some things to clean up on athletics in relation to CIS, Canadian Intercollegiate Sport. I'm going to work on that. I will still be president of the Association of Universities and Colleges of Canada for another few months, and they're focusing very much on trying to encourage the federal government to continue investing in post-secondary. Lots of issues like that.
Could you elaborate on the CIS?
Yeah, so we're working very hard to try and change the dynamic in CIS across the country. We've got a proposal which comes out of work which was done in Canada West. I co-chaired a working group. We came up with a new model which for intercollegiate sport, where we would have certain high performance opportunities, and we're proposing that we start seeing how that model works by looking at women's hockey. I think Canadians would be embarrassed to know that almost our entire women's hockey team that competes at the Olympics and at the international tournaments plays in the United States. It doesn't have to be that way, so we're really going to try and push. So I'm going to say too early to tell, because I really do want to focus my energies and keep myself engaged for the next 15 months, and so I'm trying not to do any valedictory statements yet. Just that I think that British Columbians should be very, very proud of this institution. I think it's done amazing things over the last 25 years, and I have every confidence that the leadership is present, that it will continue to do amazing things and get even better and provide better opportunities for students and do even more important research for the people of British Columbia, Canada, and the world.